Tonight, before you fall asleep, I want you to think about the last thing that made you angry. Not annoyed, angry. The kind of anger that made you stop scrolling. The kind that made your heart beat a little faster. Maybe it was a corrupt politician, a billionaire, a celebrity, a leaked document, a scandal, a headline that felt so dark, so disgusting, that you couldn't look away. And that's exactly the point. Because outrage isn't a bug in modern society. It's a product consumed by billions. And every time you click, someone gets paid. But here's the disturbing part. Most people think they're consuming outrage. What if outrage is actually consuming them? What if the thing being manipulated isn't your opinion, but your nervous system? Imagine a fire alarm, not in a building, inside your skull. A small, ancient structure buried deep in your brain, your amygdala, your personal threat detector. For hundreds of thousands of years, it kept human beings alive. It helped our ancestors notice the predator hiding in the grass, the enemy approaching from the dark, the snake curled beneath a rock. It was never designed for Twitter. It was never designed for 24-hour news. It was never designed for an endless stream of scandals arriving every 30 seconds. But now, it has no off switch. Every outrage story, every shocking revelation, every leaked file, every act of corruption, every betrayal. Your brain reacts as if danger has entered the room. Not metaphorically, biologically. Your pulse changes, stress hormones rise, attention narrows. The world suddenly feels less safe, less predictable, less human. And then something strange happens. You tell yourself you're looking for answers, but you keep scrolling long after the answers disappear. You already know the story. You already know who did what. You already know you'll gain nothing from the next post. Yet your thumb keeps moving. Why? Because uncertainty is addictive. Your brain hates unfinished threats. It desperately wants closure. And modern media has discovered something terrifying. Closure destroys engagement. Think about it. If a story ended completely, you'd leave. If all questions were answered, you'd stop clicking. If justice arrived immediately, the outrage machine would starve. So the cycle continues. New evidence, new accusations, new reactions, new theories, new villains. The story never ends, because your attention is worth more than the truth. And what begins as information slowly becomes identity. That's where the real damage starts. At first, you distrust a person, then a group, then an institution, then a government, then a profession, then, eventually, humanity itself. You stop seeing isolated events. You start seeing patterns everywhere. Corruption everywhere, manipulation everywhere, predators everywhere, lies everywhere. Everyone becomes suspicious. Psychologists have a name for this, but you've probably felt it yourself. That creeping sensation that the world is becoming darker, meaner, more dangerous, more hopeless. Yet here's the paradox. The more connected we become, the more threatened we feel. The more information we consume, the less power we feel. Because outrage creates an illusion. It feels like action. It feels like participation. It feels like resistance. But most of the time, it's just observation disguised as involvement. You're exhausted, they're enriched. You're angry, they're engaged. You're anxious, the algorithm is satisfied. And perhaps the most dangerous consequence isn't rage, it's helplessness. The belief that nothing can change, that corruption is too powerful, that systems are too broken, that ordinary people are too small. And once a society believes that, it doesn't become rebellious, it becomes passive. That's the final trick. Outrage begins by making people emotional. It ends by making them numb. So what do we do? Ignore reality? Pretend darkness doesn't exist? Live in blissful ignorance? Of course not. Truth matters. Accountability matters. Awareness matters. But so does protecting the architecture of your mind. Because every headline enters through a gate, and that gate is your attention. Not every story deserves unlimited access. Not every scandal deserves permanent residence in your thoughts. Not every outrage deserves your nervous system. The next time a shocking story explodes across your screen, stop. Just for a moment. Feel your heartbeat. Notice your breathing. Ask yourself a simple question. Am I becoming informed, or am I becoming conditioned? Because the battle for the future may not be fought in elections, or courts, or boardrooms. It may be fought inside millions of human minds, trying desperately to decide what deserves their attention.